Forbes Books presents The Sky's the Limit with host Dee Brown, the president and CEO of the P3 Group, the nation's largest minority, public, private partnership real estate developer. Here's Dee.
Joining me this week is Nathaniel Clark, the managing partner of CHASM Architecture. Nate founded the company in 2005, and CHASM has become a top-notch, full-service design firm headquartered in Atlanta, Georgia. Nate, welcome to The Sky's the Limit.
Thank you so much, Dee. I've been looking forward to this. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing good, Nate. I appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to join me on this episode of The Sky's the Limit.
Absolutely. It's an exciting thing that you got going on here. Glad to be a part of it.
Thank you. Nate, I want to start by just kind of referring to your bio. There are not a lot of people that include quotes from British philosophers in their bio, but yours open up with, "As a man thinketh, so shall he become." What do you mean by that?
Well, As a Man Thinketh was a book by James Allen. It was actually my first book as a child. It was given to me by my church in Sterlington, Louisiana. And so the book is 50 years old, or it will be in October of this year. So, but the book, what it means to me, it's, I had no influence on this book coming into my life. And it was a wonderful gift to me by my church. And it just simply means we are a product of our thoughts. We say out loud positive or negative things, and that drives our circumstances. So I've always, since, being a kid, reading this book, have been mindful of the things that I say and how that drives my life and propels things in my life that either I want to happen or I don't want to happen. Because there's been times where I've said things that I should not have said, and those things come true. So, as a man thinketh, so shall he become, has been part of my life since, the first days of my life.
Wow, that's so true, Nate. I've often heard you say that good leaders must also be great followers. Some people might have trouble understanding the logic behind this. Why is this so important to you?
Well, I think if you're smart, then you have great people within your circle who challenge you. If you're always the smartest person in the room, then you can't grow. And everything about me is about exponential growth. I want, even in my firm, I tell everyone that, listen, you have a voice. Everybody has a voice, even down to the janitor has a voice. And I think that's so important when you're grooming people for leadership. You can't dismantle someone's voice or not listen to the things that they have to say, because you can always learn from someone else. And even in sports, right? In sports, in business, or any competition, the only way you get stronger is to play with stronger players. So I always want to include very strong people around me. I want to grow those around me as well. And then there's the trust side that's associated with that growth. I may not always be the youngest or the brightest, but, sometimes you can learn things from people that have much less experience than you. And then you have to be willing to follow their leadership, even though they don't have the same level of experience. And I think when you're doing that, that's how you see these companies grow exponentially. Like, I can't write code. There are some very smart people out there that can write code that we should all be listening to about certain things within that space. So, followership is underrated. Everybody wants to be a leader. Everybody talks about being a leader, but, the best part of a company are the folks that are following. And even as a leader within my firm, I find myself following my team when it comes to technology and the other things that we need to implement in order to make us a more robust architectural firm.
Right. I have that conversation with my team all the time. Couple points to what you spoke on. We don't want to surround ourselves with yes men. A lot of people feel like, hey, when you get to a certain level of success, you should always be right, or you want people to always agree with you. But we have to have our thoughts challenged. I think that's one of the things that we do, obviously with each other, having worked together for so many years, being able to challenge each other's thoughts as it relates to different projects and perspectives. So you're very accurate in your assessment there. Last year, you wrote on LinkedIn that in the 7th grade, you were told by 4 high school students that Black men could never run a successful business or become the president. And in that moment, you quote, I would find one of the widest professions and excel beyond comprehension. Take me back to that time and how it drove you to be successful.
I was in fifth period band practice. I was a really good trombone player. I've been playing since, fourth grade. So I transitioned that talent, even though I was going to play sports. I played basketball, football, all throughout high school. I was in band practice right before sixth period, which was, football practice. And I was in there, and they just decided to have a conversation behind me. Four gentlemen. I've decided that I would never repeat their names because of how they've driven my career. But I didn't start telling this story until I made the 15th year of my company, which was last year. Well, I was playing on the trombone, and they were standing behind me, and they were saying things like, well, black men can never become president of the United States. They can never run a successful business. They're good at sports, but they could never be the quarterback, nor could they be the GM, nor could they own the team. And I just kind of started ghosting on my trombone as if I was still playing, but I wasn't. And I was just listening to these things. And it really struck me that, I grew up in Sterlington, Louisiana. It's a small rural town in North Louisiana. And some of that, from my perspective, could have been true, that because I didn't have the examples. So in that moment, I decided to become an example of success. And I wanted to find one of the widest professions that I knew of or that I didn't know of, and really succeed and dominate that profession by being really good and really excellent in it, and not marketing myself as a minority company or as a minority individual or as a black man. I wanted to be good based upon us being good. And I think we've built that company that I can look back and say as an example that I am a successful business owner. We have seen an African-American president, right? I'm around folks like yourself who are also successful, because when they say that these are the things that we could not accomplish, they weren't just talking about me. They were talking about my friends. They were talking about you, even though I didn't know you at the time. They were talking about your father and your uncle and other folks. So, and other men that you've had on this show. So I think it's important that, we engage ourselves and challenge ourselves to be successful. And that kind of goes back to, as a man thinketh, so shall he become. If I would have allowed those words to enter into my being, then I probably wouldn't be sitting here today.
Nate, over the years, we've found that we have so many things in common, so many similar stories and life experiences. And when I was thinking about what happened to you in the seventh grade, it took me back to a sixth grade experience that I had, where a teacher, one of my teachers, was talking to another teacher about me, and she just described me as being a mediocre student. And it was something about hearing those words that day that kind of unlocked the inner competitiveness in me. I think it was that day that I said, I would never be referred to as mediocre again. And so things happen in our lives, right, that kind of get our wheels turning and kind of unlock the drive that we have within us. And I think those type of life events fuel the success that we've achieved.
Even at LSU, I went to LSU and had graduated from Coahoma Community College with the highest academic achievement. Then I went on to LSU, and what folks don't know, and I just started telling this story recently as well, that over the 5 years I was at LSU, I never went to a home football game. Every home football game at LSU, the entire time I was there, I made myself go to the studio and stay there for 2 hours. Some of my former professors can vouch for this. I would go there for 2 hours at least and stay there for every home game while everybody else was walking across the quad in their purple and gold, going over to the stadium. I was going perpendicular to that traffic over to Atkinson Hall to the design studio. And I think that's similar to Kobe putting up 500 shots after the game. Like, everybody wants to be great, but some people don't want to put in the work. And you got to put in the work. You can't talk about being great. You got to sacrifice. And all of that was tethered back to that conversation about what we can't be, who we're not, you can accept that or you can put in the work.
Nate, I was telling one of my guys, everybody wants to be great. Everybody want to be a beast until
Right.
it's time to do what beasts do. Right. So they want the title, they want the accolade, but they don't want to put in the work. So the example I always use is that the lion is the king of the jungle. The lion is not the fastest animal in the jungle, right? That's the cheetah.
Right.
It's not the smartest animal in the jungle. That would be the orangutan. And it's definitely not the largest animal in the jungle. That's the elephant. So the only difference between the lion and the other animals is simply mentality.
Right.
Right. So when a lion see an elephant, he's thinking about eating lunch, and the elephant is thinking about running. Two totally different mentalities. So it's easier said than done. So we definitely agree on that point. So Nate, CHASM has just celebrated 15 years of continuous business and has grown to be the architect of record for a variety of huge companies, everyone from Atlanta Housing Authority, Blue Cross Blue Shield of Louisiana. Also, you are the architect of record for my firm, the P3 Group. And the key in what I said is continuous. So what does this longevity mean to you?
Longevity means everything. I mean, you can start a company and it has a 5-year run or a 3-year run, and then you end up going back to work for someone, then there's some success in there, but the longevity is where you really truly test the success of an entrepreneur or a CEO, right? I think all of this is tied to your mindset. Look, it gets tough. Everybody that's ever run a company, they know that there are some lean times when you're running a company. I think longevity is based upon your mindset. It's going back to that whole faith in yourself and faith in the God that you're serving, and then executing and not worrying about anything else but being successful. So longevity means everything. We started out in 2005. We transitioned through the 2008 recession and now have survived the global pandemic. And, I took the long route to success with CHASM. We were built on a really solid foundation. I didn't take any favors. We didn't do any kickbacks. I can't lean to anyone to say that you are the success of CHASM, that you put us on and you gave us the contract. And all of that was through blood, sweat, and tears to generate the success that we have now. And it's very comforting to look back 15 years and say that, wow, this one person firm that's now 29 people over a 15-year span. I've even tried to maintain and held back our growth so that we could remain at the right size, which also takes a lot of planning and a lot of strategy. So, I think longevity is the key, and we're projecting even longer lifespan for this firm, because I try to stay not 6 months ahead, but 6 quarters ahead in our cash flow and our projections and marketing as a firm. And I think when you do that, it allows you to plan a lot better than many firms that operate on a day-to-day in a reactive mode by responding to RFPs. We're out here fighting like the lion. We're out here tracking prey. And if we need to move where the prey is hurting, then we move where the prey is hurting. And I think a lot of firms are not willing to take that level of risk, and we are.
Right. And Nate, one of the things that contribute to longevity is being able to develop and maintain strong relationships. Absolutely. You have been the corporate architect for Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Louisiana for over a decade. You have been architect of record for my firm, the P3 Group, for nearly 5 years. How do you view developing and maintaining strong relationships as it relate to running a successful business?
Blue Cross Blue Shield of Louisiana is a leading corporate entity in the state of Louisiana. Dr. Steve is a great leader. Their board is really run very well, and they want to work with minority-owned companies. The other thing about minority-owned company is I am a minority-owned company, but I don't market as a minority-owned company. We just market as a damn good architectural firm that provides a great product for our clients. We treat every client like they're number one. We tell every client that they're number one, and then we provide that level of service, and it's personal for me. It's personal that, I use my superpower, which is I influence my clients to hire us. The worst part, or the worst thing that you could do, is not perform after you've created this relationship with a client. So my friends, you are a friend. My friends at Blue Cross Blue Shield are friends. I deliver high level product to those guys every day so that they can never call me to the carpet about not executing at the highest level. So if you're going to replace CHASM, it's because you want to replace CHASM or there's new leadership. But it won't be because we did not perform and we did not give you your best, our best at all times.
Right. Nate, we know that over the last year and a half, we've dealt with the global pandemic. And of course, we've came through that storm together, I think, stronger than we started. Talk to me about the pandemic and how it's impacted your approach to design and architecture.
The pandemic was kind of the real fire to our fire drill. So prior to the pandemic, maybe 3-4 years, I had staff come to me and say, Nate, I have a family situation where my spouse may be getting promotion and they're moving. And I would say, just take your computer with you and we're going to open up an office in the region where you're living. That happened on 3 occasions. So I've been working remotely for 4 years, and that was our fire drill, right? The key to me is to always operate outside of your comfort zone until it becomes comfortable. You can't grow in anything. No sport. You had Master P on your podcast. He talked about basketball. The only way that you can get better is to put in the work and operate outside of your comfort zone, right? And I think the more we see businesses that look like us not settle for being comfortable, not settle for wanting to control our team, our staff, so you allow them to grow. And if you trust the staff, then they can move anywhere in the world and still work for you. Those are the guys that I'm looking for now, actually. I'm looking for folks who will sit anywhere and their talent supersedes where they live. So the thing that I've learned most about COVID is to continue to operate outside of your comfort zone, because ultimately no human controls anything. You have corporate entities now that are trying to figure out how to navigate during COVID and now after COVID with their critical staff having work from home and still being efficient, yet they want to pull them back into the office. And it doesn't make sense to me as it relates to operating a company. So I think, trust your staff, understand that they're intelligent, that you need them. And sometimes you have to follow those guys because the staff is in part the reason, or the most important reason, that you're successful.
Right. I couldn't agree with you more, Nate. But hang on, we got to stop right here. But coming up next, in the second part of my conversation with Nathaniel Clark, the managing partner of CHASM Architecture, Nate talks to me about what he remembers most about turning a Baptist church into a 3-story condo complex.
I remember how fun that project is. And you know this about me, D. Listen, if we're going to work together, we're going to have fun, we're going to laugh, we're going to joke, because we do this for a living. What I remember about that job is that it was a lot of fun.
This has been The Sky's the Limit with D. Brown. To find out more about D, go to dbrownceo.com. And to connect with the P3 Group, check out thep3groupinc.com. The Sky's the Limit is a production of Forbes Books.